feeling like I'm in that end zone. I got my homies in a no new friend zone. You know, making plays that land us in the end zone. Coming in clutch, you can catch me in the end zone. End zone.
What is happening, people, and welcome back to In the End Zone UK, your home for all things NFL and much more. It is week 13, and it has just been Thanksgiving weekend. This week, we are taking a moment to be grateful for football, for family, for food, for fans, all the F's in Thanksgiving weekend. And thank you to you, the listener, who tunes in every single week. We really do appreciate you. So this week was filled with turkey and touchdowns, and we are thankful for all of it. And so this week's episode is called Giving All the Thanks. And today with me, only 2/3 of the In the End Zone crew are present today, fresh off his trip to his favourite place on earth, Nashville. We have the Tennessee whiskey man himself, Big Dave. Welcome to the Thanksgiving pod. Hope you are thankful for your Titans.
I am not thankful for my Titans, no. And although we may only be 2/3 of the team, I think mass-wise we make up 99th out of 100.
But happy Thanksgiving, Dave. We're a little bit late to it. It was sort of beginning or end of last week, sorry. But happy Thanksgiving.
My nana. Yeah, no, it was... I think Thanksgiving week in football is my favourite week. If I was in America, it'd be even better because you'd get all the food, which we don't get over here because nobody celebrates in the UK.
Yeah.
But in terms of games, it's way better. You get all the games on Thanksgiving, which was a Thursday. We then got a game on Friday. We then have college football Saturday, and then all the games Sunday. So it's an extended long weekend where everyone who loves us, if there are any people, are mad at us because all we do is watch TV.
It's true. And yeah, this week was exactly that. It's great. I mean, I love the tradition of the American style Thanksgiving. You know, we got Christmas over here, but they also get Christmas, so they kind of get double whammy. But you know, you gather around with loved ones, family, friends, and you almost traditionally watch NFL football while stuffing your face with turkey and other lovely tasty treats. And I think that's fantastic, and I wish that we had a little bit more of that over here. I think that Thanksgiving should come to the UK. And I'm an advocate for that from a UK American football podcast. We could even start it, Dave, could we not? I'll bring the turkey, you bring the spuds.
Yeah, I'll say I'll bring my friends, but it'd just be me and you sat there. So
yeah,
sad violin music.
Sad violin music. Yeah, we'd still have a good time though because there'd be football. And yes, I want to wish our listeners in the US specifically a very happy Thanksgiving. We do have listeners across the pond, so hope you all had a great Thanksgiving. We kind of tried to join in the celebrations over here. We watched a bunch of football and stuffed our faces, I guess is as close as that gets. But we had three awesome games for Thanksgiving. As per usual, the Lions playing on Thanksgiving, that is a God-given, I guess. And the Lions played the Packers, the Chiefs played the Cowboys, and the Bengals played the Ravens. Absolute feast, forgive the pun, of football. And we're going to get to talking all about that in either our slap or sign, our game recaps, or our first segment, which is Game of the Week. And Dave, speaking of feasts, our Game of the Week that we've agreed on this week is the Kansas City Chiefs, the reigning AFC champions, taking on the resurgent Dallas Cowboys, so-called America's team, that have suddenly found some fire again. This game was everything, high-scoring, physical, unpredictable. It ended 31 to the Cowboys, 28 to the Chiefs. Massive win from the Cowboys, beating Patrick Mahomes, even though Mahomes threw for 4 touchdowns on the day. The boys came to play. Defense made just enough stops, and Dak was sharp. Run game looked good. And the Chiefs sort of did their thing as well. Some explosive plays, but Dallas kind of got it done. Managed the clock well, took their chances, got into it in the fourth quarter with a lead, and just did not let Mahomes do that final nail in the coffin that he usually does in those fourth quarters. So Dave, let's break it down. Let's talk about this game of the week. Let's talk about the Chiefs. Let's talk about the Cowboys. I mean, this was one of the Thanksgiving games, so We were very much tuned in for what was a hopeful, amazing night of football, and I think this game definitely helped it be so. What did you reckon to the Cowboys Chiefs?
Yeah, it was a great game, wasn't it? It had everything that, the people, I mean, there weren't great rushing numbers, but the passing plays, oh my God, like both the quarterbacks, like you say, both the quarterbacks were sharp. CeeDee Lamb and George Pickens, is there a better 1-2 pairing in the league?
I don't think so this season. I can't think of a better duo. They are absolutely outrageous.
Yeah, I mean, we've all said it. They need to find a way to keep George Pickens. He's great having CeeDee Lamb there, but George Pickens and CeeDee Lamb, they almost seem like an unstoppable duo. But I think the Cowboys, their record's probably, it's more an indictment on their defense and how bad the defense has played. And I think they would probably have a far better record if it was just played on offense. They're putting the numbers up. Dak's having a great season. And like CeeDee Lamb and obviously George Pickens are both having. CeeDee Lamb's had a problem with drops, especially last week. But this week, the pair of them, I mean, they combined for 200 yards.
Yeah, it's massive.
Yeah, George Pickens just seems to be able to do things. He's not a big guy. He doesn't seem to be necessarily really fast, but he can just do things with when he catches the ball. Like, he's got this crazy run after catch ability. And then on the Chiefs side, again, you had Mahomes doing his... This is the first game, I think, where he's actually looked like Patrick Mahomes this year.
Yeah, I thought the same.
In the pocket, making them throws when he's diving. And his receivers did come along for the ride on this one, I mean, Rishi Rice had eight receptions for 92 yards, 2 touchdowns. Kelsey was just that big third down guy that he's kind of always been, but it was a close one. I think you couldn't have argued if it had gone either way. I mean, I think for the Chiefs, it now ultimately means they probably, I don't think they can make the playoffs now. Not with the Chargers winning and the Broncos winning.
Yeah, exactly. I think that was the biggest tale in this story, was that it was a great game, but ultimately for the reigning Super Bowl contender, I guess, from the AFC, this was like the moment to try to become relevant again. This is a massive swing. At the moment, the Chiefs now sit 6-6, and obviously this would have been 7-5. And when you look at other 7-5 teams, you would look at the Chiefs slightly differently. I think if that was their record, you'd go, okay, they're probably going to make the playoffs. They've got a couple more wins in them. They'll get there. At 6-6, just because of the surrounding teams and how well they're playing. You're right. Like, it's going to be they're not eliminated, but it's going to be a very, very difficult position for them to get in to the playoffs. And at the same time, the Cowboys now have a better record technically on paper than the Chiefs. They're 6-5-1, and that one draw counts for something. When at the start of the season, my gosh, the Cowboys were getting shellacked, and they were getting so much rough press because of how bad their defense was, and it still is. But I do think some of the moves that Jerry Jones has made mid-season have made a difference. Bringing in Quinnen Wilson has made a difference in their run game. Their ability to get after the passer up the middle, stop the run, has definitely helped. Their secondary still doesn't look fantastic, but they've got some people back off injury as well. Overshown, their linebacker, has definitely made a big difference. Bringing in Jadeveon Clowney, I mean, he had 2 sacks in this game, 2 tackles for a loss, 2 QB hits. Like, he's been a piece. And I just think that the Cowboys team's slowly, weirdly coming together at just the right time. And this is where teams get hot for the playoffs, right? This is where the money downs are played. And it's weird because obviously we've trashed the Cowboys for so long, but I think because they've been so ass recently, my hatred for them has fallen off. And you're absolutely right with the George Pickens, CeeDee Lamb piece. Like, they complement each other so well. They're almost very similar. It's almost like you've got like 2 twins playing football. But up until this point, I'd say Pickens has been the better receiver. Obviously, Lamb's been injured, but just the fact that you've got the option for both is wild. And if you can keep those two, it's another, Jamar Chase, T. Higgins scenario, isn't it? If not better, I think maybe.
Oh, I think they're better than them. I think you could probably. I'm not saying they're as good as Chase, but they're not that much further behind. They're certainly better than T. Higgins, I think.
Yeah.
They're very much more like a Chase. They've got that kind of build.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, so the Cowboys currently sitting 9th. in the playoff picture. So they're obviously on the outside looking in.
Yeah.
I'll give you a quick rundown of who's in the NFC. So the number 1 seed at the minute is the Chicago Bears, which is crazy.
That's wild.
Then the LA Rams, the Eagles at 3, 4 for the Bucks, 5th are your Seahawks, 6 are the Cheesy Head Cam Packers, 7th are the Niners. So the teams that are on the outside are, well, I guess the Lions make it. Probably. They're at 8, Cowboys at 9, Panthers at 10.
I don't have as much faith in the Panthers as I do the Cowboys and the Lions, but yeah, the last few games of the season are going to be super relevant for that table to sort of switch up and down, isn't it?
Yeah, and the Chiefs are sitting at 10. So
10 in the AFC.
Yeah, they're at 6 and 6. The Steelers are at 9. They're at 6 and 6. 8 is the Texans at 7 and 5, and then the Bills hold the 7th seed, and then it's Colts, Chargers, Ravens, obviously, Jags, Patriots, and Broncos and Patriots both 10 and 2. So good for them. Jags, scumbag Jags, sitting at, as if the Colts. I mean, Danny Dimes is playing with a broken leg, isn't he? But
he is. Yeah,
they were at one point the 1 seed. They're now the 6th. So yeah, it's going to be tight getting into there, and
it is.
It's technically only 5 teams that were eliminated. So 3 from the NFC, and then 2 from the AFC. Can you guess who the 2 from the AFC are?
I would imagine it's the Titans and the Raiders.
That's correct. What about the NFC?
Yeah. Eliminated from the Cardinals?
Yep, they are eliminated.
Okay.
They actually sit at 13 above a team that's not actually eliminated yet.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I don't know. Who's the other one?
So the other 2 teams that were eliminated are the Giants and the Saints. They, like the Titans, sucketh asseth. And then 4th, the Commanders, actually at 3 and 9, are not yet eliminated.
That's ridiculous. They should be.
That is ridiculous.
Okay, well, that's a great rundown, Dave, of the current standings in the AFC and NFC. I mean, this game had a huge bearing on that fact. If it goes one way or the other, sort of the way that I guess most people would have expected is the Chiefs win it and give themselves more opportunity to get into that potential playoff berth, but they've got a chasm to climb out of now to get into that. I mean, it was ultimately to wrap this game of the week up. It was a great game. As you said, Mahomes was doing Mahomes things. Like it was really nice to see, as somebody who's a pro chiefer, and to see Mahomes actually do something. Pass rate at 129. He was making those plays where he was being hit at the line of scrimmage, rolling out, diving, throwing, making elite level, high IQ passes, high athleticism passes. But Dak Prescott also has played lights out. You said at the start, Dave, that this offense of the Cowboys has never been the issue this year. It's only been the defense, and the defense is tightening things up as it goes on week by week. So they could be a real problem for people and a real problem for teams in the next 4 or 5 games that we've got left in the season. And you definitely cannot count them out, because the Eagles are not looking potentially too strong, even though their record would say it is, but on paper they're not. The Giants obviously not great. Skins, aka Commanders, obviously not good. So there's every chance, I think, for these Cowboys, and I'm interested to see how it finishes. I'm not saying that I like them, but I'm saying maybe I hate them a little less this year. That can very much change, but right now I don't despise them.
No, and they beat the Eagles last week, and the Eagles lost this week. So I mean, they've just wiped out the Super Bowl from last year.
Yeah,
the last 2 weeks.
The best 2 teams in football last year, beaten by the boys. Good stuff. That was our game of the week. Obviously, we do not slap or sign anybody from this game week, and there would have been some contenders. Mahomes with 4 touchdowns, as we said, CD Lamb and George Pickens combining for 200. It seems like Travis Kelce's sort of ignited some sort of elixir of life from himself. He's playing a much better role this year than he did last year in the regular season, at least anyway, but maybe it will be to no avail. But and both defenses are on the up, I guess, but just couldn't stop each other this week. It was offense. Right now, we move into our second segment, and dare I say, our favourite segment of every given week. You know what time it is? It is time to slap or sign. And for anybody new listening to this Thanksgiving pod, this is how it goes. Each of us picks 2 players from the AFC, 2 players from the NFC. They either get a slap for a truly dreadful performance, or they get a sign for showing out and delivering the goods this week. And so we are going to kick this off with an NFC start, and we are going to give praise. We're going to praise on this Thanksgiving Day. Who are you giving thanks to, Dave, from the NFC? Who is catching the sign from you?
A guy that's probably had multiple signs this season, and that is something that has never been said before. Bryce Young, the young goat.
Oh, wow.
Is getting the sign.
Fair play. To beat the Rams, that's a hell of a feat. Bryce Young, Panthers quarterback, has had many a slap and now a sign. Tell us why, Dave.
He just seems to have turned that corner. I know last week he had a bit of a stinker, but the week before that he was good. I think I might even signed him the week before. But against the Rams.
Did, yeah.
Yeah. He just made clinical throws, Looking at his stats, they don't look absolutely outrageous. Although if Cam Ward had these, I would be singing it from the rooftop. He was 15 of 20, 206 yards and 3 tutties. And I think he kind of just willed that team to win a little bit. Their running game was absolutely on point, which has been a great strength, I think, of the Panthers this season. I think when they hired that Dave Canales, whatever his name is,
yeah,
people were a little bit like, who is this wiener with a great hairline? Who is he? He's doing all right. They're 7-6. Like I say, they're essentially tied with the Bucs for the lead of the NFC South. I think the Bucs have got the tiebreaker over them. But to dismantle the team that everybody, including us, says is the best team in the league right now, and they sure were going into this week. They probably still are, let's be honest. And essentially handle them. They won 31-28. Matthew Stafford had thrown 2 interceptions all year until he came to this game, and he decided to double that. So now,
yeah.
I mean, he finished 18 of 28, 243 yards, 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. They just couldn't see. It was very back and forth, but the Rams just couldn't seem to run away with it like they normally do. Puka Nacua made some unbelievable catches. I think, without looking, I'm not actually looking at the stats, but I do believe that Devontae had another 2 touchdowns. Yes, he did.
You are correct.
Extend his, so I don't know. I think he must be on 13 now for the year, 14 for the season. He's having an unbelievable year. I still think the Rams are the best team, probably the best all-round team in football. You're allowed a hiccup, especially if you've got 9 wins. They're 9-3. But yeah, I mean, what a game.
Yeah.
What a game it was. And absolutely. I'm actually quite glad that and I'm sure you're glad that the Panthers won, because that makes your division a hell of a lot closer.
Yeah, I was cheering on Bryce Young in this game, which is just a wild concept, because we've been, I won't say hating on him, but certainly criticising him for the best part of the last 2 years, because he's just not shown that he's that guy. And Dave, I think it's a great sign, because 3 touchdowns, 0 interceptions on a defense that has this year taken the ball off some of the best quarterbacks in the game and made them pay. He kept a clean game. Like you say, he missed 5 passes, passer rating of 147 for 3 touchdowns. And some of the passes were lovely, up and down touch passes, exactly where they needed to be. It was a bit weird because some of the receivers were so wide open. I was like, is that busted coverage? I don't know. But whatever it was, he saw the opening and put the ball exactly where it needed to be. That Ted McMillan is looking like a very, very solid first-round pick now. Bryce Young is definitely moving towards a more solid first-round pick. And that's just wild. We are absolutely crucifying the Panthers in recent years or months, for some of the first-round pick decisions that they made and all the capital that they gave up to take players. They're kind of just about turning it around, aren't they? I think you'd almost say that they've, I would say at this point, it's probably too early to say they've made up for it, but in a division where you're 7-6, in a year where the NFL is so wild, and then to beat the Rams, who have looked unbeatable until this week, is crazy. And Matthew Stafford throwing 2 interceptions. Like, Panthers were without J.C. Horn in this game, who is their by far best DB. I just think that they're every week getting slightly better coached. Like they're working more as a unit, I guess, as opposed to individuals, and it's really working well for them.
Yeah, I mean, being sacked twice, Bryce Young got sacked twice. I think if you've got a clean pocket, it just shows you how talented these guys are, no matter who who they are or whoever we poo-poo weekly being crap, if they're probably stood behind a decent offensive line, I bet they could all slice and dice. And that shows you how important that is.
For sure.
Yeah.
Good stuff. Well done, Bryce. And yeah, I was very happy that the Rams lost, because that does make the NFC West just as tight as a mosquito's bumhole. So I'll take any opportunity the Seahawks have got to maybe slide further up that playoff position board. Okay, my sign for the NFC. He's not on the podcast, which I'm not going to say I'm happy that Cam's not on the podcast, but I am happy that he's not able to gloat on this one too much. But I am, as ever, impartial as possible. And I do not like those stinky Packer cheeseheads, but I'm going to give credit where credit's due. This was a Thanksgiving game, the first one, divisional. We expected big things. I expected bigger things from the Lions, but the Packers came to play, and I'm signing the Packers defense. I think that for the majority of this year, the Packers defense have been that special sauce, that linchpin in the Packers even being relevant in any games, because their offense has looked up and down. And I can say in this game, it looked up. Jordan Love threw for 4 touchdowns, 234 yards. He had one of the best games of his career, as all these Packers would say, against these this beat-up secondary of the Lions that has got nobody in it. But I'm really going to give the credit to the Packers defense, because every week they have been solid. Every week they have shut down the best rushers in the game. You can't put yards on the ground. They swarmed the ball. They're so athletic. Obviously, throwing in Micah Parsons now, he's in the backfield before you've had time to sniff the jockeys of the man in front of you. And I think that all plays a part in then just making every team have to go second and third and long on these guys. And whilst they haven't got the corners to really do so, the pressure is there. Micah Parsons is an animal, mixing in him with Rashawn Gary, and then Edrin Cooper, their linebacker, who's just everywhere. They've got a unit, and it hurts me to say it, because I don't like the Packers. I think everybody on the podcast probably now knows that I don't like the Packers. It's probably mixed in because of Cam and because of his ability to follow a team that's just always relevant and looks in with generational quarterbacks. But fair play, it's his team and it has been forever. I just don't like him. I hate with a passion Matt LaFleur and his smarmy, snarky, cocky, shitty hair. I just don't like him. And there was a couple of big calls in this game that went the wrong way. One of them was when the Green Bay Packers called a timeout when they never did call a timeout, which then allowed them to stay in the red zone when they should have been pushed back and all this kind of stuff. But nevertheless, the Packers defense is good. It held the Lions to 24 points, which is, it's 24 points is still a lot, but it's a hard thing to do. And they shut down the run game. Jahmyr Gibbs, 68 yards, 3.4 yards a carry on 20 carries. Montgomery, 32 yards on 8 carries. It wasn't great. They lost Amon-Ra St. Brown early to an ankle injury, and that was all she wrote. And the Packers are a bluff 8-3. I still wouldn't put them there, but they're going into the playoffs. That's something that I know to be true. And I think that they've got a puncher's chance in any game, more than.
Yeah. And Mika was unbelievable. He had 2.5 sacks. But you're right. I think it's the same with a lot of these teams. The Lions, we've said it before. They're a great team once they get up on you. They're a great team because their ability to run the ball is just almost unstoppable. So the Green Bay the Packers did a great job in stopping that. And I think that if you can do that to a team like the Lions, you've got a great chance of beating them, especially when the number one wide receiver goes out. Although Jameson Williams had 144 yards.
Yeah, he had a great day.
Hit and miss, didn't he? I think he'd obviously step up into that position, didn't he? Into that number one wide receiver, and he actually excelled, I think. But that call was huge. That call, it was like at the goal line, wasn't it? They were like 2 yards from the goal line or something. And they false started, didn't they? But he got caught.
Yeah, they false started,
because he called a timeout. That's absolute bollocks. We all know it. We can see when you can see there were so many ropey decisions. There was a field goal got given this week that missed.
Yeah.
There's so many, and don't get me started on these referees, but I've said it a million times. They need investigating. When them calls come in, they need investigating because there's been some bad, like there is every year, bad referee decisions. And there was a couple in this game, like you say. But yeah, the Packers win 31-24, 8-3-1 they are now. I never thought I would ever feel myself cheering for the Bears, but I quite like Ben Johnson. So I
like Ben Johnson a lot. Yeah,
I almost like the Bears because of Ben Johnson, because he seems to have that like doesn't give an F attitude, you know, and his play calls are unbelievable, and you can tell the Lions have just gone downhill since he left. They have not been the same team this year that they were the last 2 years.
No, they've got like the skill positions which help them win the games and help them. You know, you've got any chance to score a touchdown when you've got Jamal Gibbs, Jameson Williams, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Sam Laporta, aren't you? Because these guys are weapons in their own right. But if you're not utilising them properly, like they were being utilised with Ben Johnson, it's a totally different game. Like Ben Johnson's making, you know, Colson Loveland, Cole Kmet, all look like world beating tight ends every week, and it's like, have you heard the name called of a Lions tight end this year?
No. I mean, and I think that's it. I think it's if that's why these people are so few and far between. These Matt LaFleurs, these Sean McVays, Ben Johnsons. You know, there's not a lot of them. And when you see the difference they make when they go to a team and just turn it around instantly, because they're like, actually, this is how you create a scheme that will get your tight ends open, that will get your wide receivers open, that allow you to. Who's Swift and it's their running back
at the Bears? Yeah.
Why does he look like prime Saquon Barkley this year? Because that's what they can do. You know, all these schemes open them up, and the right people. I would kill. I don't even know who the next one of them is, but I don't know. And then you've got the defensive people on the other side of the ball. They're the defensive versions of them, like the one you've got. Yeah,
Mike McDonald and
you know,
the guy from the Vikings is class.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah. These people that just you put the right person in the right position and they just excel. And the Bears. If you'd have told me last season the Bears would be doing what they're doing this season, I'd have called you a silly sausage
for sure. But yeah, that's my sign anyway. Back to the Pack, back to the cheesy McCheeses of all Cheesington. The Packers defense getting the good handshake from me, because whilst I'm a hater, I can respect great football, and their defense is playing great football. So there we go. And Cam's not on the podcast to gloat, but makes me feel a bit better. NFC slap. Where are we going, Dave? We've got to switch it up now. We've been nice. We've gave our thanks. It's now hates giving. Who is getting the roughness?
Jalen Hurts is getting it. We just spoke about the Bears, 9-3, put a beating on the Cowboys, 24-15. They won, the Bears. But Jalen Hurts, he's looked average all year long. You know, he seemed reluctant to throw the ball. You know, I mean, it's not just him. Saquon's obviously having a very down year compared to what he had last year.
Yeah.
Chalk and cheese them seasons are. He's not even averaging half the yards he was averaging last year.
Wild.
Yeah, and Jalen Hurts, he just seems like, I don't know if he's playing with a lack of confidence or I don't know what it is, but obviously the team run through him. You know, he had his tush push rejected.
Yeah, stripped.
Yeah, stripped and rejected. And I just think that I don't know what it is about him, but the Eagles just look tame compared to last year. Last year they looked unstoppable, running the ball. They were tush pushing from 3 yards out, 4 yards out, and they've lost back to back weeks. You know, they lost the Cowboys last week, and now they lost the Bears this week.
Yeah,
and they're obviously still first in the NFC East, but you're putting your position in pure jeopardy when you can't beat teams that you should be beating. You know, the defense of the Cowboys last week was pretty woeful. I mean, I do think the Bears have got a nice defense. I think it's a quietly good defense. You know, Montez Sweat's been unbelievable. I don't know what it is with Jalen Hurts that he just doesn't seem to be the same guy I was last year.
No, it feels like he's skipped back maybe 2 years, because there was a period in time, if you remember, if you cast your mind back, Dave, there was a period in time where me and you on a weekly basis would trash Jalen Hurts, and it was a few years ago. It was probably second year into our podcast, so you're probably talking 2022 or something. But there were weeks where we were like, what is this guy doing? You know, like, again, reluctant to throw the ball, very heavy on his legs, running around, got sacked a lot, turned the ball over a lot, and his turnovers aren't anywhere near as bad as what they used to be. He's actually one of the safest guys with the football in the NFL. But when he does turn the ball over, like he had an interception in this game, they feel like a very different team. You know, they feel like a team that's vulnerable. They feel like a team that can be picked on. And when Saquon's running 13 carries for 56 yards, no tutties, that ain't inspiring in nobody. And even the stats in this one are inflated because AJ Brown, and to be fair, you know, fair on AJ Brown, he's a beast. He had 132 yards, 2 touchdowns, but one of them was essentially almost half those yards, and one of those touchdowns came from like a garbage time drive down the field in the fourth quarter to even put that 15 points up. They were getting beat harder than the score dictates. And, you know, that only pleased one person on this planet, which was Cam, because he had AJ Brown in fantasy and took him to a world-beating week, even though every week so far he's not been quite there. I think that the Bears really showed that they can hang with the best. And Caleb Williams isn't being asked to do much. And I think that's a Ben Johnson thing. You know, he's coaching them up. Kyle Monongai had 130 yards on the ground. DeAndre Swift had 125. Dave, these guys rushed for 281 yards on the Eagles. That is insane.
Yeah. 2
running backs with over 120 yards rushing.
Yeah, that Mononga, I don't know if he's their first round pick. I think he's a rookie, isn't he? But
he's a 7th.
Oh, was he?
7th round pick in this year's draft.
He's a beast. He looks a little bit like David Montgomery. The way he runs, he's kind of like a power back like that. Swift's obviously a smaller dude, isn't he? But they do exactly what they need to do, you know. And they've got some absolute stud weapons, like you say. Cole Kmet's good. Colston Loveland is their first round pick, and they're their tight end. And then you've got DJ Moore and Roma Dunze as well, and they basically didn't get anything in terms of receiving, like 3 receptions between them. But I don't know. I don't know what you can say other than the fact that the Bears seem to be for real. I can't remember who they've beat off the top of my head, but they're in that division. You know, they're in that division of death. The NFC's got a couple of them, but I believe they're top of it. So
good on them.
The Bears.
Yeah, go on the Bears. But yeah, I think it's been a surprise, probably one of the bigger surprises of the year. It's up there with like the Patriots being so good. And back to Jalen Hurts. They're probably going to be fine. You know, they've got, because the main thing about the Eagles is they do have, if you're looking at just pure talent, they've got it in spades. Every player. Hurts can be a very, very good quarterback. Barkley's one of the best running backs in the league and has been for the last 7 years. AJ Brown, unbelievable wide receiver. If AJ Brown wasn't your number one and you had Devontae Smith, also unbelievable wide receiver. Dallas Goedert, Zach Bourne, Cooper DeJean, Jalen Carter, like these are special players in almost every position. So it's just a mystery. Maybe there's that, you know, what's happening with the Chiefs. That, you know, these guys and teams have played almost extra seasons at this point because of making the playoffs, making the Super Bowls in so many years. It could just be that. You know, it could be these guys are just maybe not quite up to scratch physically. I don't know. Just a guess, but it's got to play some part in it.
Definitely, and you see that. I mean, I know that they're only playing 4 games. The Chiefs especially, because they're the AFC or the Super Bowl for like the last 5-6 years. You know, that's a lot of extra games. You know, that is essentially an extra season. But you must get winners fatigue of like just constantly winning games and getting extended playoffs runs. It must happen, and when you're not necessarily the quarterback, although I'm sure your shoulder does get sore throwing the ball 50 times or whatever. But these running backs and stuff, you know, they're putting and the wide receivers. So you're selling a run, and you're trying to sell that as a wide receiver. You need to run up the fit. Like all you're doing is sprints. It must be an effect. It must take an effect.
Yeah, I reckon so. But yeah, Jalen Hurts deserves a slap. Good stuff. Like it. My slap is going to the Minnesota Vikings front office. I'm going to go with that, I think, is because, you know, their head coach what's his name? Kevin O'Connell. Their head coach is good. He's a good head coach. He's proved it. He's proved that he can win 14 games in a season and do that with a, above average to average quarterback and build a strong team of Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison, TJ Hawkinson, Aaron Jones, and a great defense with his defensive coordinator, Brian Flores. Those things are cool. And maybe these guys have got way more of an input into than the rest of the team building specifically at quarterback than I know, in which case they are also incorporated into this slap. But hell's teeth, Max Brosmer was the starting quarterback for the Vikings because JJ McCarthy suffered from a phantom concussion on the plane home from his last game because he sucks so heavily that the Vikings had to roll out a nobody against a defense in Seattle, my boys, that is, I would call them formidable. Is that fair? That the Seahawks defense could be classed as a formidable defense this year?
Yeah, your defense is unbelievable.
So, exactly. Fantasy points or just general points. The Seahawks didn't give up a point this week. The score was 26-0. Seahawks didn't play particularly well. They played great on defense against a rookie quarterback. Didn't play particularly well on offense, just kept kicking field goals. But it's because there was no urgency. There was no real need to score because I think it felt like they were always going to get the ball back. After one drive against this Max Brosmer, they realized that they had no issues and that he was never going to beat them. And so they just kept shutting him down and he had some awful play. And so back to the Vikings front office, it's like in your building less than 12 months ago, you had Daniel Jones was in the MVP conversation earlier this season. Sam Darnold has been floating around that conversation, definitely dropped off in the last 2 weeks, but still showing that he is a very, very, very good quarterback for the Seattle Seahawks. Carson Wentz comes in through the door as your backup, gets injured and is totally knackered. So you have to get rid of him. So you're relying on JJ McCarthy, who is a first round pick that you've obviously fluffed. And then another dude who everyone was going, Brosmer, he transformed the college that he was at the year before. Who cares? He's not an NFL quarterback. He threw 4 interceptions in this game. And they were each one as stinky as the other. An overthrow, an underthrow, a throw on the run, a battered pass. It was shocking. And, I loved every minute of it, obviously. The Seattle Seahawks tearing this place apart. I could have signed Ernest Jones. That was where I was maybe going, but I actually thought this was on the Vikings and on them and their front office and the position that they're putting their team in at the moment. Ernest Jones, 12 tackles, 2 interceptions, 1 pick six. What a beast.
That was the worst, and this is coming from somebody who watched Will Levis last year throw some absolute gleaming interceptions. That was the worst interception I've ever seen.
Yeah, and terrible.
Yeah, you're 100% right. We talked about it loads, haven't we? How they should be done for misconduct. The NFL should fine them for misconduct because that is how egregious the decisions that they've made to let Daniel Jones go. I get it. You know what? You think you don't know what he's not done anything for you. He's just been in the building. He's obviously a good dude, works really hard, and it's showing at the Colts. But Sam Darnold got you 14 wins. Who in their right mind lets somebody leave who gets them 14 wins? And let me tell you something about JJ McCarthy I learned today. In his entire time with Michigan, in the fourth quarter, he has only thrown 45 passes ever before coming to the NFL. How is that an NFL-ready guy?
Yeah, tried and tested quarterback, yeah.
Oh, what a mistake they've made, and it's probably there's a lot of fluff that goes into these decisions, isn't there? These drafting these people. But I'm so glad Cam Ward played 4 full seasons at college.
Yeah.
He's got 40 odd games under his belt that he's played at college. I'd hate to be a team like the Vikings now where you've got one of the best wide receivers in the league.
And that's a problem, isn't it? Because he's going to start sniffing the grass is greener, isn't he? Justin Jefferson.
And he's obviously not listening, but if he is listening or somebody knows him, tell him to get the F out of there because that team is going nowhere. You have hamstrung yourself now with Sam Darnold. Who do you bring in? not Sam Darnold, sorry, JJ McCarthy. Who'd you bring in? You need a veteran guy to back him up.
Yeah.
Like what on earth do you do if you're the Vikings? Do you look around the league and go, right, who's another young quarterback who maybe hasn't been given the opportunity that this Kevin O'Connell quarterback whisperer can work with, mold and transform into the next guy, you know?
I think you're right. And I think you said it on the last podcast. Kyler Murray, you said.
Yeah, I don't know if Kyler Murray's that guy. Maybe he's a little bit old for that, or I don't think he necessarily thinks football's his main thing. But I don't know who. Like, he's obviously an option. Could he make Will Levis good? He's obviously got a big arm. Or is he just as shit as JJ McCarthy? But you won't know unless he's got the right coach there. I don't know. I don't know who they could get. Because JJ McCarthy, I'll go on a limb now and say he will never be the guy.
I think
Dan Orlovsky break down his play from the other week. And he says that he looks like, not only is he not thinking about where he's going to throw the ball, he's thinking about how many steps he needs to take back. Like he's thinking about things that should be automatic for a quarterback at this level.
Yeah.
And
I've heard the same. I've heard the same, that it's not just his, processing or his reads, it's his mechanics, it's his throwing motion, it's his footwork, it's his everything. So you throw all that together in the NFL, where everyone should be as pinnacle, top of the mountain as you could possibly get, and then it just shows off. And excuse me, but it's just a shame for the Vikings. And you're exactly right. They need to do something quick. I don't think they're in a go draft a new quarterback scenario, because you're going to piss off your Justin Jeffersons, your Hawkinsons, your Addisons. You're going to piss these guys off, and not more to the point, you're going to waste them.
Yeah, well,
he's being wasted. Justin Jefferson, he was being talked about as being not just great, not just like one of the best like this year, or not the best in the, like one of the best ever. Like that's what he was being spoken about as under Kirk Cousins, one of the best receivers to ever do it.
Yeah,
and now
that's what they were saying. They were saying that what do you do with do you do with do you look at it and go, oh, right, we actually are we're nowhere near where we thought we were. That last year with Sam Darnold, we're not getting another one of those. Like there isn't another one of those out there. Do we trade Jefferson and a first round pick and try and move up?
Yeah,
and take a guy this year. But I just don't. You can't.
It's a lot. It's a lot to do when you've got somebody of that caliber in the building. I don't feel like you should ever let him go. I feel like,
of course, because he's vital for whoever you've got there as quarterback. You need
exactly
one receiver, So I just.
I think you have to touch. I think you have to maybe touch some of your pieces to try and fix it. I wouldn't say him. I think you've got a very decent talent in Addison. You've got a very decent talent in Hawkinson that are probably way more casualties than JJ is, albeit not worth anywhere near as much. Maybe a couple of pieces on the defense if you really want to, start throwing those around. But yeah, I mean, ultimately, this is why I'm slapping them, the Vikings front office, because they're not making smart decisions. They're wasting the careers of top talent. And when you get shellacked 26-0 by a Seahawks team that didn't play very well, it's a real problem. And just to talk about my boys, I guess, whilst we're on the topic of the Seahawks, I was really pleased with what happened and what obviously needed to happen. Sam Darnold was under hella pressure in this game. The Vikings defense played a really good game of football, held him to 128 yards, no touchdowns. Like that's a hell of a performance by the Vikings. Equally a bad performance by Sam Darnold, but we ran on them relatively reasonably. Scored a touchdown on the ground, kicked about a zillion field goals. But yeah, I think our defense is. I just want us to put a full game together. I think that's my thing. I just would love to see the Seahawks play an optimum offense, optimum defense game, because I feel like when you do that, you'd get a game like this, but instead of being 26-0, it'd be like 40-0. And that's not that I want to see 40-0. Do you know what I mean? That nobody wants that, but that's the type of game I want to see us be able to lock that together and say, right, that's how the Seahawks can play.
Yeah, well, I think ultimately, like you say, there was no urgency in this game. This was probably more a mercy killing than anything else. I think if Mike McDonald wanted to really step on the necks of the Vikings, it's probably a wrong term to use for the Vikings as well, but for Minnesota. But yeah,
yes,
if they really wanted to put the beating on them, they probably would have done. It just seemed like they were running the ball so much, and then when they were getting into like fourth down, they weren't going for it, where they probably might have gone for it. in if the Vikings were putting up any form of offense, but they weren't. You know, I think you've seen that after that first drive, he was well at his depth. That youth was. I don't
massively.
I don't care what he turned around in college. You know, he ain't turning that ship around. Like he was stuck at sea without paddles, I think. But you know, I think you did what you need to do. Like it's difficult to really talk about and when like.
Yeah. I'm not unhappy. Like I say, we did what we needed to do. Like a shutout's a shutout, whether it's, you know, somebody as bad as he was. Any 0 points in the NFL is something to cheer about. So happy about that. I just want to see it all. I just want to see some synergy across every phase of the ball, which hopefully, if we manage to pull that together, we could be tasty. Okay, moving to the AFC. Let's speed this one up. AFC. Let's go to let's stay slapping people. Let's stay slapping, and I really want to hear your AFC slap because I feel I've read it and I feel like you need to unleash. So please do, Dave.
Yeah, I'm slapping Logan Cook. Yeah, so he's the punter for the Jags. The Jags absolutely mollywopped the Titans this week, and it's got nothing to do with us losing. You know, they were a better team, albeit I think they were given a turnover or two that put them in preferential field position. They took advantage and scored 2 touchdowns, you know, and that was kind of all she wrote. They got a 2-point play in there as well, but I'm slapping their punter. Their punter is a little bitch, and I don't care if I came across this youth in real life, I would tell him straight to his face he's a bitch. He is like, I understand that a lot of these a lot of these kickers and punters come from like football backgrounds. Yeah, don't bring it onto the NFL pitch, man. He was flopping every time anyone got near him, and it was driving me insane. And the fact that a player that was on the floor that the punter landed on top of, they got a 15-yard penalty for that on like a 4th and 20, an automatic first down. It was driving me insane. I was about to dash my laptop through my TV. I didn't, thankfully, because it's a work laptop. However, it was just so frustrating to watch, you know, and like you're watching the NFL because you want a little bit more of a manly sport than watching soccer, or if you're in the UK. And I would, if I was Jeffrey Simmons, I'd have just grabbed him and pulled his head clean off his shoulders. I've never seen a more weaselly display. I mean, I put some videos. We've got a group chat that I dropped some videos in.
I was about to say the videos you showed me were outrageous. Like it was like watching Barcelona play Real Madrid, and somebody gets breathed on wrong and rolls around on the floor for the next 20 minutes and gets back up and runs it off. It was awful.
The only justice I felt in this entire game was the fact that he punted the ball, it got ran back, and he had to try and make a tackle and got absolutely flatlined. And that was slightly like karma coming back into it, but it was multiple times. I think that's what was driving me mad, you know, like I could have slapped anybody on our team, so we did nothing. It finished 25-3, if I've not already said that. We drove down the field on the first drive, got to 4th and 3 maybe, and kicked a field goal. And that kind of told me what day it was going to be, because we didn't have any issue getting there. It just seemed like after that, the life just fell out of the team, and that was the first drive of the game. We were getting... The Jags are just a soft team. Everything was like...
they didn't look particularly good.
No, it's not even that. Like, it's the fact that, I mean, they're a fraudulent 8-4, but they play us twice, so that's 2 wins. But it was everything, you know, like a roughing the passer call on a fair tackle. The refs were just in their pocket the entire game. And again, I'm not complaining that we're losing. I don't want to lose. I want to win. But if we do lose, I'm not massively upset, because at the minute we're running head first into that number 1 pick, especially with teams like the Jets winning. It's the fact that they just were babying about everything. They were flopping when like they were getting pushed on the sideline. They just seemed like a real soft team. And it's the first time I've seen, outside of watching Mahomes and Josh Allen flop around when they get touched, and Justin Herbert now, he's another culprit. They were all doing it. It just seemed like we were playing a bunch of babies. And I think that's what was more frustrating about the game. We got whopped. We got molly whopped. Trevor Lawrence, 16 of 27, 229 yards, 2 touchdowns. Jacoby Myers had 90 yards, 6 receptions and a touchdown. Brenton Strange, whoever that wheezebag is, he had a touchdown.
I mean, that Jacoby Myers has become their number 1 receiver since he's landed in Jacksonville, and I thought they were bringing him in as a chess piece to sit outside Brian Thomas, and obviously Hunter, who's gone down, but he's their guy now, and that's wild because he ain't that good.
No, I mean the only thing that was softer than the Jags team was the Titans defense. The defense we were playing couldn't have given them any bigger holes. The Titans are an awful team. They're so bad in pass coverage. The corners are going to be bad. That we're playing like our 4th and 5th string corners. Our number one receiver at the minute is Van Jefferson, or James Prochet the second. He's just not a good. Tony Pollard actually looked all right. 10 rushes for 60 yards. He was actually running all over. The Jags can't stop the run to save their lives. But when you get into a game where you need to throw the ball, Cam Ward very, very average. 141 yards, no touchdowns, no interceptions. It just seemed like we were trying to lose this game, and it coming off last week's game where we actually had a spirited fight against the Seahawks, who are a far better team than the Jags. To come to this was a little bit disappointing. But
at least we weren't in Nashville watching this game, Dave. That's all I can say.
No, if I'd have been there and a Jags fan would have been gobbing off next to me, I'd have thrown him clean off the top of the stadium. I was not really watching. And
we would have ended up in some American prison picking the soap up. So yeah, no, I'm really glad that we were actually in Nashville the week before and not this week. So it would have been a bleak time. But yeah, I get it, Dave. I mean, I don't know who this punter is, but I saw the videos and I absolutely agree that should not be happening in the NFL. It's a contact sport. Deal with it. Slapping an ex-Seahawk quarterback, Geno Smith, the Las Vegas Raiders. So they played last night. Chargers, Raiders. Chargers won 31-14. Chargers never looked like they were going to lose, and they didn't even play well. But that was the narrative of this one. Justin Herbert got injured early on. I think he's probably fractured or something his hand, but he had to have it fully bandaged up, and it got head-butted by somebody as they went to tackle him. That's the price you pay for being a running quarterback. But Geno Smith, holy cow, has this man just fell off. He has fell off the cliffs of Dover. I can't even describe to you. I don't know how this guy, when you watch him, I don't know how this guy was a starting quarterback for the Seahawks that looked in any way, shape or form serviceable. Because every week he looks terrible. I mean, he threw 2 touchdowns in this game. 1 interception, shock, because he throws interceptions, for fun. But also, he was sacked 5 times in this game. He was sacked 10 times the week before. That's 15 sacks in 2 weeks. 15 sacks in 2 weeks. This guy is just a walking tackle dummy. He just doesn't and can't evade anything. It says a lot, obviously. It says a hell of a lot about the Vegas offensive line, which I'm not skipping away from. I'm not slapping them, I'm slapping him. But you've got to play with the hands that you're dealt. You've got to know that the people are going to come after you, and you've got to get that ball out quick. He holds on to it for so long and ends up just curling up in a ball amidst massive fucking big dudes just bombing him. I think Geno Smith's time as a starter is probably done in this league. Again, I don't know what team would take a shot on him next year. If you could tell me what you think that might happen. But I mean, ultimately, 15 sacks in 2 games, another interception. I think he's got 14 or 15 on the season now. Way more interceptions than he's got touchdowns. And I just think that's so poor. So poor.
Yeah, I wouldn't take him. I don't think he's whatever magic he had at the Seahawks is rubbed off. I will obviously watch this game quite intently because I've got Tits Pervert as my quarterback in fantasy. So Justin, he's broke his hand. I think he's having surgery today or tomorrow.
Oh, is he?
Yeah, but I think he's good to go for next week. But they're playing tonight, I think. So I don't think he'll miss time. But yeah, it wasn't a really inspiring play by either of them, to be honest. But
no, it wasn't.
In terms of Geno, I don't know if he holds the ball too long or their offensive line really is that bad, because Genty's averaging 2.1 yards a rush. The only bright spark on their offense is Brock Bowers.
That catch he made. Oh, he's so good.
And, obviously Max Crosby's a beast of a guy.
Yes.
They've got some
Undoubtedly.
great pieces, Jeremy Chin just hits with him and Devin White. Can you imagine getting double teamed as in tackled by them two?
Yeah, not the other one. Fuck that.
No.
Yes, I can't imagine it. It would hurt a lot.
But yeah, the Raiders, they have got some good pieces. They need to draft a quarterback. They need to pay for an offensive line because Geno Smith is easily, not only is he the most sacked person over the last 2 weeks, he is throwing the most interceptions in the league. Yeah, he's awful.
And that's it. That's Geno. Geno slapped because the Raiders, the Chargers aren't great and they still look like a fully functioning operation against the Raiders, which is seemingly very easy to do nowadays. Last but not least, our AFC signs. Dave, where are you going?
I'm signing Joe Burrow.
Back to the Thanksgiving games.
Yes. So obviously he's come back after his poorly toe, and they absolutely put a number on the Ravens. I don't know why we're currently living in the upside down where good teams from yesteryear, and by yesteryear I mean last year, are now awful. But the Ravens, Chiefs, Bills, Eagles, they all look beatable, comfortably beatable. And the Bengals, what's happening in this division? Who's going to win this division?
I've got no clue.
I thought when Lamar Jackson came back that the Ravens were going to absolutely shellac everybody and just take it by storm. But the Bengals still have a realistic chance of making it because of how badly the Ravens and the Steelers are playing.
Yeah.
Joe Burrow, 24 of 46, 261 yards, 2 touchdowns. Obviously, Jamar Chase had a day, made 110 yards, but the Bengals beat the back end out of them, 32-14.
Yeah. Lamar doesn't look the same Lamar since he's come back off whatever this hamstring-ish injury it was, and he gave away some comical turnovers in this one, but just to get somebody of Joe Burrow's caliber back and just to watch him throw the ball like that touchdown to Ayushibas and then one to, I think, his tight end, which was like a perfect ball. I think it was Tanner Hudson, I think it is. Perfect ball. He caught it with one hand because it basically landed in his armpit. And you just look at it and you go, that's the Joe Burrow kind of football that we've essentially missed all season, and I think it's a little bit of a travesty. And as much as we've obviously said in many a podcast, like, you've got Jamar Chase, you've got T. Higgins, most quarterbacks would kill to have those two receivers and probably look good with those two receivers. Joe Burrow is inevitably a very, 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 very good quarterback. And we've been watching quarterbacks that aren't very, 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 very good quarterbacks play for Cincinnati. And it's just nice to see a good quarterback. It's nice to see good football. He took one sack, threw for 260 yards. Winner. That's what you want to see. And he spread that ball out, spread it out so much. I think that's the thing with somebody like him. Okay, you can go, yeah, you go play for the Bengals for 2 weeks, Joe Flacco, and you just throw every single ball at Jamar Chase, and you'll probably get 100 yards. And that's what's happened. Whereas he'll go, no, I'll throw 7 at Chase, 7 at Brown, 7 at Iosivas, 2 at Tinsley, 2 at Gesicki, 2 at P. Ryan, and just scatter that ball everywhere. And it's just because he can get through his reads and he's got the arm talent and he's a good quarterback and it's nice to see.
Yeah. That Evan McPherson, he had a game. He was 6 of 6 on field goals and 2 extra points.
Yeah.
That's an absolute day. He played like the Seal kicker.
We had a good day kicking. But yeah, I think it's, And then on the flip side, you say, if you give the ball away 5 times, if you're the Ravens, you don't expect to win a game. No wonder they put 32 points out. If you get gifted 5 extra possessions, technically speaking, they should have done a lot better than 32 because they stalled out on a 4th and goal. They did miss some stuff. It was by no means perfect football. And I guess the thing with Joe Burrow is he completed 24 of 46 passes. So he was great, but there's a lot of room for improvement. Something like that. Cool. Joey B. I think Macca will be happy. One of our avid listeners, Macca, is a Bengals fan. He'll be happy to get him back. And I'm finishing with James Cook from the Bills. Now, the Bills also didn't play a particularly impressive game of football, But at the same time, they played the Steelers. They beat the Steelers. They beat the Steelers 26 to the Steelers' pathetic 7. And it was all James Cook, not Josh Allen. And I think so many times this year has that been the case. And it's great to be able to do that. You know, if you've got the flexibility of being like, do you know what? We'll lean on our rushing game. 32 carries, which was, I don't know, 9 more carries than Josh Allen throws or throwing attempts. And he also had 144 yards, which was also nearly 20-something yards more than Allen had through the air. So basically, the roles reversed and the running game was the quarterback game and Josh Allen was just a complementary piece, which is wild to think, a very strange thing to think that was the case, but it was. And the Steelers could not stop James Cook, just like, 3 or 4 times a season in the last 2 years, I think we've seen James Cook outgain Josh Allen because he's just a very good running back. He didn't have any touchdowns, but he had plenty of yards, 33 through the air, 144 on the ground. Bad day for Josh Allen, and he's had a few. Bad day for Aaron Rodgers, and he's had a few. But I mean, what are you doing if you're the Steelers? You got Metcalf, a behemoth of a receiver. You're throwing the ball at him 3 times. Come on. He went there for a reason. You're paying him hundreds of milliones for a reason. And instead, you're leaving receiver as a 320-pound tight end in Darnell Washington. And don't get me wrong, I'm not pissing him off because he'd pull my face off. But yeah, I think the only thing that stood out in this game to me was how good James Cook was and how easily he could run on the Steelers, and everything else was just really mediocre.
Yeah, they just ran the same play over and over and over and over and over and over again, and the Steelers with their 15 trillion pound defense couldn't do nada, nothing.
Yeah.
And Aaron Rodgers to me looks like the Colts version of Matt Ryan. Just he's completely lost it. He's got nothing. And I don't know what the Steelers who always seem to be relevant, but I don't know how much of that is Mike Tomlin. And I said I've seen a few things saying that they reckon Mike Tomlin's gone at the end of the season, that they want a whole new start in Pittsburgh. And I just don't know if that's a mistake. I don't know if he's the only thing that's keeping them relevant.
What? Oh, okay. And if he wasn't there, they would fall through the floor.
Maybe.
Yeah. Interesting. Because I saw him on the sideline in this game with his hood up, and he's like let his beard grow a little bit, and his head's not shaved and clean shaven, and he's not had like a nice little shape up done the way that he normally does, and he looked a little bit like a crackhead. And I was like, is he done? That was my thing. I was like, is he done? He looks fucked, and he looks tired, and he looks like he should be, standing over a oil bin on fire sort of thing. And I was like, that's not good. That's not a good look for
what he needs,
him.
Don't you? He needs the warmth for Tennessee. That's what he needs.
I mean, that would be a great shout.
Bring some studs with you.
Yeah, that'd be a great shout, because he's obviously, I think it might be just getting a bit stale. He's been there for so long, hasn't he? So long. There's only so long you can be in that petrol-y iron city without it just defeating your fucking will to live. And you've never, he's won a Super Bowl, hasn't he? But you've not been relevant, actually relevant in a playoff game for the last probably 15 to 20 years.
No, but he's been in the playoffs, hasn't he? That's the thing.
Yeah.
I don't know. I saw the same thing. His eyes look a bit drawn. He looks like mega dehydrated.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe he's on the crack. But I would be if I had Rodgers as a quarterback and some other. I don't know. What do you do? Rodgers is he's just a shadow.
Give up, don't you?
He's not even a shadow. He's a scorch mark of his or a skid mark of his former self. Not even 50% completion percentage, or 117 yards, and he was sacked once. And in that sack, he managed to break his arm and
bust his nose.
He just looked like. And then in his press conference afterwards, he was vintage Aaron Rodgers, blaming everybody but himself.
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah.
I don't like him. I've gone through fits and spurts of thinking he's a good dude, and he goes on Joe Rogan and has some pretty nice open up conversations. I think I like his openness and his ability to talk, just and be say normal human, because he's not a normal human, but just to talk. But I think that's about it. He's become a little bit relatable, but actually as a person, he's a bit of a tool, like generally speaking. He blames everyone else. He's not a player that you want to play with.
No. And I know he's obviously got them 4 MVPs. He's got Super Bowl MVP. He's only 5th in passing yards, and he's played 20 seasons. He's like 20,000 passing yards behind Brady and Breeze.
Yeah, I saw that as well, yeah. And Brett Favre's still got more passing yards than him, has he?
Yeah, that is incredible. And Peyton Manning. But that is an incredible number. I don't think we give Breeze anywhere near the love that he deserves. 80 passing yards, he's unbelievable.
Yeah. He used to throw the ball like 65 times a game, though. That's why. Yeah. But fair enough. It's probably why his arm fell off by the end of his career. He was holding on by a tendon. But yeah, Rodgers just needs to give up. Like, there's no second season for him. That's done. It's got to go. If he tries to come back, surely the Steelers have just got to be like, listen, boss, we've got to go. We've got to go younger. We've got to find somebody else, because you can't have Mason Rudolph coming in looking like freaking singing Bohemian Rhapsody. I'm just a poor boy. He looks, with his helmet on, he looks so much like, what's his name?
Freddie Mercury
from Queen. Freddie Mercury from Queen. Honestly,
well, he looks like.
Have a look at a picture of him.
He's not Indian, and this is no way racist. He looks like a Bollywood version of him. As in, like, if Bollywood was to cast somebody who kind of looked like Freddie Mercury but was a bit fatter. Yeah, that's what he'd look like.
Yeah, no, I get that. Yeah, funny stuff. Okay, cool. That is our slaps, and that is our signs, and therefore that is the end of slap or sign. We'll just go through a couple of the games that we didn't go through as game recaps. The 49ers, San Francisco, took on the Cleveland Browns, and I thought this was going to be closer than it actually was. I thought the Browns might try to upset Brock Purdy and get to him and force some issues, but actually it didn't make any difference. Shedeur Sanders could not stand up to the heat that was the Niners defense, and the Niners won 26-8 in this one, and it was just a very generic game. Obviously Myles Garrett got another sack in this one. Was it just one? I think it was just one. Yeah, one more sack that takes him to 19. He's written on his wristband that he wants 25, so he wants to beat the existing record by 2.5 sacks. So I guess we'll see, but that's another one on the list. I wouldn't argue that he's not going to get to 25. I think he probably will, especially if that's what he's telling himself, because he's a freak. But it was a bit of a boring game, really, wasn't it? I don't think there's much to say from it. Shedeur Sanders just showing that he's not the guy. He ended up having to go out for a play, but I don't think he looked particularly good. He threw for a touchdown, but again, it was, I think it was very average performance.
Yeah, it looks like a rookie. I mean, he's just... I'm going to keep an open mind, I've decided, about Shedeur Sanders, and just see what happens next year.
Okay.
Because he's not really been given a fair shout this year. I don't think he's the guy. I think he was talked into being drafted, and I think he would have gone undrafted if his last name wasn't Sanders and his dad wasn't a GOAT cornerback. He's a douchebag, but he's got the Sanders name, and I think that's why he was drafted where he was. Well, not why he was drafted where he was drafted. He was drafted where he was drafted because he's a gobshite. But I think ultimately, if he just come from Colorado and his name was Dylan Gabriel, he'd have been drafted in there. He'd been undrafted.
Yeah, I agree.
But that Quinshon Junkins, their running back, is nice.
He is. Yeah, they've got something in him for sure. They've found some good rookies in this draft. It's just as ever, the Browns can't make it happen. So they're 3-9, one of the worst teams in football yet again. And the Niners are 9-4 going into a bye week this week. So NFC West is just brutal to try to fight your way through. So good luck to the Seahawks in getting through that, and bad luck to everyone else. But yeah, next game we haven't spoke at all about, but it was a big game on paper for two teams in the same division, the Texans versus the Colts. Houston Texans won this one 20 to the Colts 16. We alluded to this earlier, where there was a field goal that was given that was actually a miss. And I don't know if there can be anything done about that. Probably not. But it did help the Texans win and move them to 7-5. I mean, we were trashing the Texans at the start of the year as well, Dave. They had a terrible record. They've gone on a 6-game winning spree, and now they are headed towards the top of the AFC South and potentially headed towards the playoffs. And for the most part, as we've said already, it's down to that outrageous defense that they've got, which just stops everything. Another team that they've held to less than 20 points in the Colts, who, you know, for the most part have put up way more than 20 points on other teams, but you can't run on these boys. You can't pass on them. So what the heck do you do?
Don't know. Try and be better. Just be better. Special teams are good.
Yep. So that was it. 20-16. Saints, Dolphins, one of the most irrelevant games in the league. So we won't talk about it. We'll just say that the Dolphins won another one. They're now 5-7, taken away from their opportunity to draft a quarterback. And the Saints lost, giving them maybe a bit more opportunity to draft a quarterback. 21 to the Dolphins, 17 to the Saints. Both of those teams are Doggus Puis. Speaking of Doggus Puis, another pair of Doggus Puis teams. The Jets, the Falcons. The Jets won. Oh, the Jets won 27-24. What are you doing, Jets? You need a quarterback. 3-9. 3-9. That means they have the same record as the Browns, and they have been so much worse than the Browns. Their defense is so much worse than the Browns, and yet they're going to be fighting it out for picks because they managed to squeeze a game against the most inconsistent team in the NFL in the Falcons. They are poo. They suck. They have got players that should mean that they are great. Bijan Robinson, Drake London, amazing safety in Jesse Bates, Terrell, whatever his name is, AJ Terrell at the corner, Kyle Pitts, this phenom that's never been a phenom. They're awful. Absolutely awful. And I'm saying that, and they're probably going to beat us next week when they turn it on against the Seahawks. But this week, they were bad enough to get beaten by the Jets, which is terrible. Cardinals played the Buccaneers. Again, a nothing game. Cardinals, some of the worst teams in football. They are the same. They have the same record as the Jets, 3-9. The Cardinals in the NFC West getting pumped in the West. And the Buccaneers go to 7-5. They beat the Cardinals by 3 points. Cardinals have been in every game, just really badly in every game. 20 to the Buccaneers, 17 to the Cardinals. The Buccaneers have really fell off my radar, Dave. Like, they've gone from, I don't know whether it's injuries or what, but they've just gone from being this like powerhouse sling fest of a team to not being great.
No, and that's what I mean with the Panthers on this sort of resurgent run. You know, you can see the Panthers taking that NFC South. You know, and yeah, I don't know. So. Yeah, when it comes to like the Browns, the Jets, I don't know why the Jets try like win. And it's tough. You know, the toilet bowl is going to be duped out between the Saints and the Titans. Obviously, that'll be the battle for the number one pick now, because there's no way the Saints are winning another game unless they beat the Titans, which is we put up 5 points this week, they put up 17. So hey, you know,
yeah.
Give me the number one pick.
At this point, you know, that is kind of where those teams, including the Titans, are, and you know, you've known that for a while. I think it's mad that the Jets are rolling out Tyrod Taylor and he's running for yards and trying to. I just don't see what's the point. I guess you can't just roll over in this league. I guess so. That's the reason, and that's it. There's one more game that played last night. Monday Night Football, Broncos Commanders. Again, Broncos win a 1 point game. Commanders 26, Broncos 27. This was quite a good game, actually, for the neutral, I guess. You know, 26 points, 27 points, went to overtime. Both teams scored in overtime, and the only reason why Denver won it immediately was because Washington went for a 2-pointer to try and just win it there. Couldn't get it done. Missed the 2-pointer, which means they immediately lose. So the Broncos walk away with another win, 10-2. Are they bluff? Are they not? Who knows? All I know is their defense is good. Bo Nix also had 320 yards, touchdown, interception. Only took 1 sack, which was great. And they just find a way every week, and they find a way in these tight games. The defense leaves no like margin for error. But this was again a Mariota-led Windsox team, Dave. Commanders. And what are you supposed to do with that? You know, you've got your backup in. What are you supposed to do?
Yeah, I mean, he's a good backup in terms of backup land, but not good enough, I guess. They got some nice calls. They got a pass interference call on the last drive, which extended it to allow them to score a touchdown, and then obviously the 2-point conversion in overtime was battered back to the halfway line. It was that bad, but yeah. I don't know. again, the Washington team find themselves in a fortunate position, I think, where they're looking competitive in games, but they're losing them, so they're probably going to get a high draft pick, get their quarterback back next year, and they might get a really decent receiver at the draft or something. McLaurin was back obviously as well. He had a good game.
He did.
Tezza.
Yeah, he did. He's always a nice pair of hands to have, but for 90% of this season, they've just not had him. And so the Broncos just keep pushing that envelope to being atop of the AFC West and going into the playoffs with one of the top seeds, if not the top seed, which is crazy to think. But good on the Broncos. They're doing bits. I don't like them, but they're winning. And the Commanders are also 3-9, just like the Jets. Wowzers. Cool. Recaps over. Last but not least, we've got one more game, Monday Night Football, and it is the New York Football Giants taking on the New England Patriots. Both two very proud franchises, both trying to sort of semi-rediscover who they are, but one doing a great job of it, one doing a bad job of it. I can only see it really going one way, albeit the Giants have been the sort of semi-exciting team to watch with Jameis Winston. But I think as it is on paper and as the history of these two teams this year, I'd say that it's a Foxborough New England win for me. What about you, Dave?
Yeah, I agree. I don't know if Matey Boy's back, Jackson Dart's back, but I kind of hope, I want to see famous Jameis slinging it one more time.
Yeah, I do as well. It would be a much more entertaining game to see Jameis Winston. It is being played in Foxborough, so home field advantage to the Patriots against the Giants. I think that also tips the slider towards the Patriots. They're 10-2 and the Giants are 2-10. So do the maths. I guess we'll see. But Drake May to have a big day against this Giants defense that's a little bit banged up. And I guess we'll see what happens. But looking forward to watching that tomorrow. And aside from that is a wrap on game week 13, giving all the thanks right here on In the End Zone UK. So this week we are thankful for football, the chaos, the comebacks, many a heartbreak, and importantly, again, thank you for you guys listening every week. So Dave, for now, thank you very much. It's game week 14 next week. We shall reconvene. And if you haven't already listened, get on our socials at In the End Zone UK, follow us, subscribe, tell your friends, and we'll speak to you next week. Football is life.
Peace out.
Laters.
Catch me balling like I'm in the end zone. I got my homies in a no new friend zone. Making plays that land us in the end zone. Coming in clutch, you can catch me in the end zone. End zone.